hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from 10 group. We would like to present about teaching writing. The member of group is Muhammad Nanda Pratama, and I am Erna Kartika Sari, and the last is Deki Prasadana. Start for me, I will explanation about research on second language writing. The same trends and the principles that undergirded them also apply to advances in the teaching of writing in second language context. Over the past few decades of research on teaching writing to second language learners, a number of issues have appeared, some of which remain controversial in spite of realms of data on second language writing. Here is a brief look at some of those issues. Number 1, composing versus writing. Number 2, process versus product. And number 3, contrastive rhetoric. And then number 4, differences between L1 and L2 writing. And then number 5, authenticity. Number 6, responding to student writing. And then number 7 is voice and identity. And then the next is types of written language. There is non-fiction, is reports, editorials, essays, article, reference, dictionaries, and ATAs. And then fiction is novel, short stories, jokes, drama, and poetry. And then letters, personal, business, getting cards, diaries, journals, memos, interviews, memos, and then message, phone message, announcements, newspaper, journalists, and academic writing, short answer test responses, report, paper, thesis, and books. And then there is form, application, questionnaires and directions, label, sayings, recipes, bills, and other financial statements, and then map, manual, menus, schedules, transportation label, and then there is advertisements, commercials, and personal, and then invitations, directions, telephone, yellow page, and then comic strip and cartoons. And then the next is characteristics of written language writer's view. In chapter 20, some characteristics of written language from the perspective of a reader were set forth. Let's revisit those from writer's viewpoints. Number 1, permanent. Number 2, production time. Number 3, distance. Number 4, orthography. Number 5, complexity. And then 6 is vocabulary. And the 7 is formality.
Okay, now it's my turn. Micro and macro skill for writing. Micro skill, there are 5. First is produce graphemes and orthographic pattern of English. Second is produce writing at an efficient rate of speed to suit the purpose. Third is produce an acceptable call of words and use appropriate words order patterns. 4. Use acceptable grammatical system, example tenses, agreement, pluralization, patterns, and rule. 5 is express a particular meaning in different grammatical form. Then there are 7 micro skills. First is use cohesive device in written discourse. 7 is use rhetorical form and convention of written discourse. 8 is appropriately accomplish the communicative functions of written text according to form and purpose. 9 is convey links and connections between event and communicate such relations as form and purpose, main idea, supporting idea, new information, given information, generalization and exemplification. 10 is distinguish between literal and implied meaning when writing. Correctly convey culturally specific references in the context of the written text. 12 is develop and use a battery of writing strategies such as accurately accessing the audience's interpretation using pure writing device, writing with fluency in the draft, using paraphrase and synonyms, and so on. Next is types of classroom writing performance. First is imitative writing. Second is intensive or controlled. Third is self-writing. Then display writing, and the last one is real writing. Next is principle for teaching writing skill. First is incorporate practice of good writers. This first guideline is sweeping, but as you complete devising a technique that has a writing goal in it, consider the various things that efficient writers do and see if your technique includes some of these practices. The second is balance process and products, because writing is a composing process and usually requires multiple drafts before an effective product is created. The third is account for cultural or literary background. Make sure that your technique do not assume that your student know English rhetorical convention. Fourth is connect reading and writing. Clearly, students learn to write in part by carefully observing what is already written. 5 is provide as much authentic writing as possible. Whether writing is real writing or for display, it can still be authentic in that the purpose for writing are clearly to the student. 6 is frame your technique in terms of pre-writing, drafting, and revising stages. Process writing approach tend to be framed in 3 stages of writing. Okay, principle for teaching writing skill. The pre-writing stage encourage the generation of ideas, which can happen in numerous ways. First is reading extensively a passage, skimming and or scanning a passage, conducting some outside research, brainstorming, listing, clustering, discussing a topic or question, instructor initiated questions and probes, and the last is free writing. Next is several strategies and skills apply to drafting or revising process in writing. First is getting started, adapting the free writing technique. Second is optimal monitoring of one's writing without premature editing and diverted attention to wording, grammar, etc. Peer reviewing for content. Next is using the instructor's feedback, editing for grammatical error, read aloud technique. In small group or pairs, students read their almost final draft to each other for final check on error, flow of ideas, etc. And the last is proofreading.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Indra Pratama, and here I will continue the final explanation, which is about assessing writing. Okay, let's start assessing writing. Evaluating writing, especially in a process-oriented classroom, is a difficult problem or an overview. See Ferris and Heckcock, 205. If you are the recipient and facilitator of student performance developing in the writing process, how do you become a judge? What do you value? The answer to the first question, how you can be both a judge and a guide, is one of the main problems for all teachers. To play multiple roles requires wisdom and sensitivity. The key to being a jury is the fairness and judgment or reliability you consider in your judgment. Okay, next, evaluation checklist. One way to view writing scores is through various checklists or grading grids, which can show students their strengths and weaknesses, and in many cases, this classification becomes the focus of evaluation. Table 21.2 is a general list of general categories normally evaluated for student writing. Table 21.2 categories for evaluating writing adapt from Brown. The content, number 1 is thesis statement, related ideas, development of ideas through personal experience, illustration, fact, opinion. And then use of description, cause or effect, comparison or contrast. And then focus, consistent organization. And next, effectiveness of the introduction. And then logical sequence of ideas. And conclusion, appropriate length of discourse. And then topic sentence. And then unity of paragraph, transition, discourse, markers, cohesion, rhetorical convention, reference, fluency, economic, and variation. Syntax, vocabulary, mechanics of, number 1, spelling, punctuation, reference, citation, if any, and then tidiness and appearance. To some extent, scribes disagree with the weighting system of each of the above categories, i.e., which of a six is most important, second, and so on. However, the sixth order listed here emphasizes the least important of the content, rather than grammar and vocabulary, which traditionally have a higher priority. In student writing evaluation, the most instructive evaluation feedback you can provide is your comment about the student work, be they specific comment or summary comment. The list of 6 categories in Table 21.2 can form the basis for this assessment. If a numeric score is important to you in teaching or management, you can assign a score scale, or for example 0 to 5 for each category, and return a paper with 6 different scores. By avoiding overall grades, you can help students focus on areas of writing they need to pay special attention to. If you still need to provide a grade, or score of each paper, please consider paying more attention to the first few categories. Therefore, you can emphasize a content-based evaluation style. A scale may look like this. The content O until 24, organization O until 20, and then discourse O until 20, syntax O until 12, and then vocabulary O until 12, and the last mechanic O until 12. Total 100. Of course, the key to successful assessment is to make your student understand that your grades, score, and other comments are different forms of feedback that can be used. The final The final assessment or composition only provides input for subsequent composition. And then about rating assessment. Rating the essay in consecutive draft and attaching a checklist to guide the evaluation is one of the most common types of evaluation essay. Many more. According Hedge, 205 describes more than 50 different writing techniques. All of these can include evaluation content. In the book, Assessing My Language from the Brown 204, the chapter on assessing my writing describes many writing assessments that may be due to the complexity of the language. And listen here only to stimulate my creativity. Okay, number one is imitating. Writing exercise in handwriting, letter, word, and punctuation. And then keyboarding exercise or typing, copying, and then text listening, close text selection or listening and writing. And then cue picture writing exercise, and then filling out from the questionnaires, and then converting number and variation into word and abbreviation, and then text spelling, and the final is one word dictation. Okay, number two, intensive dictation or controlled writing. Brief and simple sentence, and then take the calm or rewriting the story that was just here. And then grammar transformation exercise, and then picture description text, and then using vocabulary in sentence, and then sorting text or rearranging word list in random order. And then short answer text, and then sentence completion. And next is responsive. Number one is paraphrasing, and then guided writing, for example, question and answer, and then paragraph construction, a segment or topic sentence, main idea. Responding to a reading, a lecture, and the last extensive essay writing, and then a segment text in writing type, narrative, description, and argumentation. And then the last Assignment in the writing genre or lab report, essay opinion, research paper. Of course, you need to be very clear when designing written assessment. What to test and why you need to test writing performance. The concept of formative assessment stands out in courses that use a rating process approach. Our assessment should help improve student rating work and only conduct the final product assessment, where summative assessments are required. Paris and Hancock 250, Chakalik 203, and Wiggle 200, 202 emphasizes the need for teachers to take responsible action in rating assessment. Respect the proven principles of validity, reliability, and respect in the rating assessment. Okay, this is the end of the presentation. We apologize if there is a wrong word and thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hold me hard and mellow. I'm seeing pain, seeing pleasure. Nobody but you, body but me, body but us.